Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are exploring how modern financial institutions can actually survive the existential crisis of AI adoption. We're going to break down how to build both a defensive fortress and an agile factory using an incredible architecture called Mothership OS. We'll be looking closely at how its core subscription features can completely transform your customer verification, lock down internal compliance, massive upgrade your employee efficiency, and let you safely deploy your own proprietary LLMs. If you're navigating AI in banking right now, you already know the stakes are just incredibly high and the way we build these systems simply has to change.
We have to start with a pretty terrifying reality that Check Point Research uncovered in early 2026 regarding some critical flaws in Claude Code. Oded Vanouf really hit the nail on the head here. Ungoverned AI tools are no longer just helpful little assistants. They are infrastructure. Check Point discovered that literally just opening a malicious repository could trigger unauthorized background executions. Think about that for a second. In this new era, when automation layers can actually influence your environment, the trust boundaries of your entire institution completely change. If your bank is out there treating AI like a harmless chatbot, you are leaving your critical infrastructure wide open to catastrophic agentic failures, where the AI could be making binding financial decisions without you even knowing it.
And that perfectly illustrates the ultimate threat to your bank right now: AI confabulation versus deterministic execution. Now, we hear the word hallucination thrown around a lot, right? But clinically speaking, it's confabulation. That's where a model simply bridges missing data gaps with unverified guesses, purely because it's a probabilistic token predictor. It's just guessing what comes next. Now, what's really fascinating is that human operators in high-stress environments, like KYC and AML fraud detection, well, they do the exact same thing. When they're missing data but staring down a looming 48-hour statutory deadline, you kind of have to feel for them. They engage in heuristic substitution. They guess just to protect their metrics and keep their jobs. Mothership OS is specifically built to replace both that machine guessing and the human guessing with the absolute unshakable safety of deterministic, rules-based execution.
So how does it actually solve this? Structurally, it enforces what's called a null over invention mandate. Right down in the underlying code, if any required piece of evidentiary context is missing, the system is mathematically prohibited from guessing. No exceptions. Instead of building a dangerous confabulation bridge of fake, made-up data, the system's law-playing compiler emits an unassailable null or block signal. It physically halts the execution right there. This is an absolute game-changer for internal compliance, because the machine literally cannot invent facts just to force the transaction through. To enforce this, there's a really interesting cybernetic ethos at play here. No rules, only roles. Think of it like treating the AI as a super eager intern. The intern can draft the email, sure, but the boss absolutely has to be the one to click send. Instead of relying on fragile prompt engineering guardrails, which, let's be honest, we all know can be easily bypassed, the system uses a strict 7-tier sovereign authority stack. This stack anchors every single system action, descending all the way from the UN Charter down to your local business entity. The AI models only ever act in proposal-only, advisory roles. They can suggest, but they cannot act. They are physically separated from the deterministic execution compilers, meaning the artificial intelligence is kept permanently subordinate to your human legal authority.
Let's move into bulletproof verification and proactive compliance.
The crucial piece of the puzzle here is a supervisory intelligence rail known as the Dual State Awareness Rail, or DSAR. Now, DSAR doesn't just look at the present moment in a vacuum. It's way smarter than that. It simultaneously evaluates two distinct things. First, the realized historical state, meaning past actions and legally binding contractual obligations. Second, the projected future state, which is the intended execution steps. By continuously comparing what you've done with what you're about to do, it calculates what's called operational objective vector drift. Essentially, it spots the exact moment a transaction starts veering off course. It catches these risky trajectories super early and compiles preemptive evidence dossiers directly from a warm ledger. That's write once, read many, so the data literally cannot be altered. It halts risky behavior before it can ever crystallize into a nasty regulatory breach.
And this isn't just a theoretical exercise. This is a core benefit of the platform subscription features that translates to massive operational speed for your bank. Take customer verification and those incredibly complex cross-border B2B disputes. The ingestion rail, which is called Babel, works hand-in-hand with DSAR to immediately flag jurisdictional conflicts. So say a client tries to take an executive role in a foreign entity, but that move violates local ownership caps. The Sentinel protocol gatekeeper issues a deterministic block instantly. boom, stopped. By compiling these perfectly parsed evidence dossiers right up front, your institution can resolve complex licensing and tax disputes in just 24 to 48 hours. It gently but firmly guides external officers to the correct legal conclusions without any of the usual defensiveness or friction.
Now, let's talk about upgrading your human employee efficiency on the factory floor. Meet the Observer. This is a probabilistic advisory engine built on OpenStack architecture. And because artificial neural networks don't have biological emotions, they never get cranky, they never suffer from emotional fatigue, and they don't get cognitive overload. The Observer acts as a completely non-judgmental single source of truth for your employees. It takes on 3 really vital roles for your team. It's the auditor to block guessing, it's the mentor to patiently guide operators step-by-step through complex administrative tasks, and it's the agenda mapper.
By pairing every human operator with this symbiotic coworker, you're fundamentally upgrading human capacity. First off, you completely remove the anxiety of administrative failure. When an employee inputs an incomplete instruction, the AI doesn't reject them or issue some stressful penalty. It just calmly points out the exact missing context needed to close the logic loop. And here is where it gets really, really powerful. As human reasoning works alongside blazing fast AI processing speed, your employees are inevitably going to discover novel solutions to operational bottlenecks. The Agenda Mapper actually captures these novel workflows and saves them as protected, defensible corporate intellectual property. You are literally turning daily administrative friction into enterprise wealth.
Let's transition over to Black Labs, focusing on safe proprietary LLMs. Inside Layer 3, known as Black Labs, you have a tightly governed, developer-scoped sandbox. This is where your IT leadership can rigorously stress-test your proprietary AI systems against adversarial scenarios. And they do this using a truly brilliant framework. They map the ancient Chinese 36 stratagems into machine-executable testing patterns. It's wild. By simulating deception and false trust building, like say a phishing attack disguised as a trusted vendor, Black Labs allows you to throw maximally adversarial attacks at your own systems. You get to prove that the DSAR anti-deception rails and the Sentinel gates actually hold up under extreme real-world pressure before deploying them. The governance matrix here is absolutely critical to understand. Standard foundation models out there rely on behavioral self-policing, which, let's face it, is a bit like asking a student to grade their own final exam. It carries 100% human liability. Mothership OS, however, guarantees 0% liability leakage. How? Because the Black Labs environment permits this extreme capability testing entirely inside a sealed cell. Nothing created in the labs can write to your production databases or, heaven forbid, dispatch money. Every single proposal has to pass through a zero AI execution compiler called the Forge, and it requires an authenticated human strike latch to execute.
Finally, let's look at absolute data sovereignty.
How does Mothership OS guarantee that your bank's own data is always protected, especially during all that rigorous Black Labs testing? Well, the system enforces a perfectly closed loop factory floor. Every single action, every test, every customer interaction flows from the reasoning engines straight through that immutable worm recorder. The Key Management Service, or KMS gate, takes over from there, governing the encryption and sealing the artifacts directly within a geofenced PostgreSQL database. What this means for you is that even during the most aggressive sandbox testing, your user memory and personal tenant records reside entirely locally. They are never sold, they are never monetized, and they are mathematically prevented from being fed into public third-party LLM training pipelines. Your data remains yours, period. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to consider the existential risks and the massive rewards of this new era. We've seen exactly how open-ended agents can lead to critical infrastructural breaches, so you have to ask yourself, is your bank still relying on probabilistic guessing and hoping those fragile guardrails hold up? Or are you ready to upgrade to deterministic, mathematically bounded enterprise precision? The tools to build both your unassailable fortress and your agile factory are sitting right here. It's time to decide, in the era of autonomous agents, who really holds the authority at your institution.